Hi, I want to welcome Claudia Hershner. She's a good friend of mine and a photographer. And Claudia, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Claudia. Hello. Last name Hershner. Yes. I mostly work out of Cincinnati, Ohio, although I travel for different projects as well. I work as a commercial photographer. So that means I work with businesses. I work with companies to produce different types of imagery, whether, it's product or it's lifestyle with models in environments or in studio settings or styled lifestyle environments. But I also do like production and art direction for video projects and also still photography projects where I'm not the photographer, maybe somebody else is. And then just art direction in general as well for different things here and there. But yeah, so that's what I do. So I'm helping Michelle today with different tips and tricks and just a deep dive into lighting and all the things you would want to consider when doing things like this or building out your Zoom room. Little bit. And I think one of the things that definitely makes a difference in ring lights or any kind of lights is some type of diffusion between you and the light. So, like you saw on mine, I had that big sheet, and I think I used it when we did your headshots too. It
Yeah.
helps even out the light, and it also just kind of helps diminish any harsh highlights that you're going to get on your face. So, and depending on the source you use and the diffusion method you use, like if it's a big curtain or it could be a shower curtain, it could be like a soft white shoot through umbrella, like whatever you've got, or a bed sheet. um, yeah, like that'll help a little bit with softening it. It just depends again on like how powerful that light source is to begin with, because for me to diffuse the light, it has to be pretty powerful because it is going to cut the light down in terms of power, but it spreads and softens it a little bit more evenly as well. So you want to start with something more powerful. But that's why we also say, like, when you're using natural light, if you're able to face into a window and use curtains, or if it's an overcast day, that's amazing. It basically just did it all for you. but, but yeah, that quality of light, if it's going to be natural studio or whatever you have at home, and then some level of diffusion and light control somewhere. Another element that I think people forget about is bounce. So bounce is like all about, the space you're in
Uh-huh.
and how that space is reflecting all the light around you. So like white, soft, light grays, like those are going to help bounce the light and amplify the light source that you're using. And then like medium to dark gray to black, like anything that's past that 50% mark, it's going to absorb a lot of light and you're going to lose light. So if you're working with a weaker light source, maybe your light isn't super duper powerful. If you shoot in a lighter space with white around you, you're going to amplify that light a little bit more. You'll help it work. And also it's going to, bounce light up into your shadowed areas. If you're a lady, it'll flatter you more. It'll help like soften those shadows on your face. And like I'm shooting with this white table, so it's bouncing back up at me anyway. So it's gonna help fill in some of those shadows. But if you don't have a white table, you could just get like a white foam core board from Michael's or any kind of craft store and
Oh,
just set it wherever. You could even set it out of frame, like just push it a little bit out of frame and it'll still do it. It's just a little out of frame. Like say this table was black and I really wanted a black table for whatever reason. I could just push the board to like right about here and
okay.
that's out of frame, but that's like still over here that you can't see. That's like 3/4 of the table. That's not visible.
All right.
So
So I have a black desk. I can just go get a white poster board and stick
yeah.
it up. All right.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, if you're working in a space too, like with the LED, that's like if you have that one light source, or if your light source, like you said, you have natural light coming from one side.
Mhm.
If you have noticed it's a pretty nice day outside. The light's pretty powerful. Another thing I love is when you bounce that light back at you. So that natural light's going to come in. And if you have something on this side that the light can hit and then it can bounce it back at you, it'll like almost reflect it back. You can at least get some fill light. So that's what we'll call fill light. And with that, you could, again, you could go to the craft store and you could use a foam core board, but they also have those fun, like, they're almost like project boards that fold out into threes so that you can, you know, do things. They usually have them in black, but they also have them in white. And that's something that you could like unfold and stick at the other side of your desk, and it'll stand up on its own, and it'll help bounce some of that light back at you to, again, like fill in shadow if you're working in a space that, you know, say is kind of dark and you don't have a lot of flexibility to change the wall color or change these other things. You're just stuck with what you have. Like
Yeah.
that's an awesome thing to use too. So like bounce is your friend. Any time you can, you know, experiment and play around with that in your space is great, because you'll learn more about like what light is doing in your space specifically, but it'll help you too when you go somewhere else that's different, and you'll understand better what the light is doing in that space and understand, okay, this is what I need to do to fix it. So I need to have this and this and this to be ready to set up my space, because I mean, I feel like people have a go-to and they bring that everywhere with them and set it all up. And for the most part, that can work if you have like LED lights or whatever, and you have a relative amount of control over everything. But, you know, if that environment you're shooting in is different enough that it's going to affect like all the ambient light around you, or how that light spreads, or even your sound quality, like that stuff is going to impair your ability to have that consistency that you're used to, and that people are probably used to in your videos when you're meeting with them or whatever. So yeah, definitely things to consider.